Shalom, Barakatha, Yahweh, Bashmi Awashai, Bashim Rakar, Hakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of the great millstone that taught me this truth through the inspiration and in the power of Yah Bashmi Awashai. And salutations to the Akim out there that continue to further this ministry in the same spirit. And shalom to those that are learning and listening and growing thereby as we provide you with these lessons and these articles. And I have an article here, as it says, an exclusive one at that. Retired chartered accountant, 65, stabbed her fourth husband, 78 to death with kitchen knife in a roll over an iPad charger at their 300,000-pound home. And as it reads, it says Penelope Jackson, 65, has been charged with murdering David Jackson, 78, at the property in the village of Barrow near Western Superman on Saturday night. Miss Jackson's son-in-law, Jeremy Mullins, said the couple had been in the kitchen at their boogaloo in quiet cul-de-sac when the quarrel apparently began. So what I take to this is the curses that are falling upon our enemies. Because this is something that the Israelite man had to deal with concerning the Israelite woman. And that's not to say that the curses have been done away with concerning our people, because we're still under the curses. But while we're under the curses and gradually coming out of the curses are beginning to come upon our enemies, literally. And obviously the enemies of the nation of Israel, which happen to be the other nations in history because of what they did unto us. But the numero uno enemy of us are the Edomites, which happen to be the so-called white people. And they're actually experiencing a little of what we've experienced. Okay? But they're going to experience the curses a lot more than what we've experienced because of the wickedness that they brought on the planet and the wickedness that they have done towards the nation of Israel and even other nations. So everything's going to come back towards them and haunt them. All of the curses will come to haunt them. But I want to just focus on, these two over here, this couple. As you can see, they're red and the shirt that he's wearing is white. So, I don't understand why these people call themselves white and why these same people have called us black when there's no such thing as being white and there's no such thing as being black. All you have is people with brown melanated skin and those that have red skin. Okay? And this proves that these are Edomites. And the word Edom means red. From the Hebrew word Adawam, which means red. All right, so going back to the topic of this lesson here, and this is a lesson, even though I'm reading an article too. Yeah, man, what we've experienced, one of the curses that we had to deal with, that we're kind of still dealing with today, but not on a heavy level like we used to, is the problems concerning our women, man, and vice versa too, if I'm being honest, But now these Edomites are beginning to experience basically the curses that came upon us. Okay, so let's read this. It says, "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." And the ultimate nation that hates us the most are these kinds of individuals, these kinds of people, these Edomites. All right? Throughout the centuries, throughout the millenniums, they've been showing hatred against the descendants of Jacob, the true descendants of Jacob, which we happen to be the so-called black, so-called Latinos, and Native American Indians. We can talk about what the Spaniards and all the other European nations have done to Gad and Reuben when they reached the shores of the Americas. And not just Gad and Reuben, but Issachar, all of the Northern Kingdom tribes. And also what they did unto us, the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes. All right, so like I said, everything's coming back to haunt them one day. But now they're just experiencing the curses, which is just the means to their downfall. All right? Because back centuries ago, just a century ago, the Edomite woman was in league with the Edomite man. And yeah, the Edomite women, they were always out of order. And they always wanted to do things their way. But they were way more in order. Okay, they were way more in order than they are now. Right now, it's just, they got the floor now. And they can just be however they want to be. And they can stab up their men. And, and if necessary, express the men that they truly generally lust after, which is so-called black men, which that's the end thing now. So these Edomite men, they're really going through a lot of problems when it concerns their women. I mean, we talk about having attitude issues and going off and dealing with other nations of men, and this is what we had to deal with as a people. But now Esau's beginning to experience these curses. And all of these curses that Moses was talking about was no other curses mentioned but in the book of Deuteronomy 28. So what I'm going to read, being that I've read this article already, let's read verse 26. Deuteronomy 28, verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the soles of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom. And she just stabbed up 4 of them. So she was already getting around because she was dealing with 4 men and stabbed 4 of them. But she just stabbed this one to death. And this society that we're living in, it gives women more of a sense of freedom to be more violent than men can. Because if a man did this, man, this would have been a big major deal. This would have probably went on Sky News, BBC News, all of the major news media outlets would have been speaking about this incident. But because it's some old woman now that happened to stab up 4 men, you had to basically look and find this on your own. Because they're not publicating it on that level if it was a man. But like I said, it's all in the curses now, man. It's really hitting these Edomites, and these Edomites are experiencing what we've experienced. Because see, when a nation such as the Edomites, and then just any nation really, let's just deal with the nation of Israel. When the nation of Israel was doing good, and I'm talking about our people, obviously. I'm not talking about the gutter rats over there in the land today. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about our people. All right. So anyway, like I was gonna say, scratch that. So anyway, going back to what I'm gonna say, scratch that shit as well. So anyway, going back to now, what I'm gonna say is, when Israel was doing good, everything was in order. The women was in order. The nations feared us, and it was the same way with the Edomites. When the Edomites were in power, everybody feared Esau. Now, no one fears Esau no more like they used to. Even his own women don't even fear him. So this is an indication of the fall of the nation of Edom. Because if your woman don't respect you and your woman's killing your ass, then again it just shows one thing, that now they're experiencing the curses. And when you experience these curses, as I'm going to say again, it's just a means to their downfall. It just means that they're going down. And that's how we went down. Because when the Lord put the curses on Israel, we was down. We started going down, and we was down for a good long time, for a minute. So we're in the beginning stages of these Edomites falling out of their highest state. Bear with me, man. It's late. My head ain't really working too well. But anyway, these are the curses that they're now experiencing. And I also want to read verse 55 as well. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to read verse 55. I'm going to read verse 56, man. So anyway, it says, the tender and delicate woman among you, once again, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards her husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter. And this is another story that got aired out on how you had a couple, Georgia mother, boyfriend charged with child abuse after infant suffers 27 broken bones report. Investigators suspect fractured were a result of old and new injuries, report says. A Georgia woman and her boyfriend have been accused of child abuse after her infant daughter was discovered to have suffered 27 broken bones. According to a recent report, Jessica Miranda Coffey, 30, brought the 2-month-old baby to Wellstar Spalding Regional. So we're talking about a 2-month-old baby, man. And they got together and they just totally destroyed the infant, man. So this is the scriptures right here. And I mean, Esau have always been cruel. They've always been a cruel people. The Edomites have always been this way anyway. But now they're showing cruelness towards one another. The same cruelness that they show towards other nations, other darker races, and including our people, they're showing it against themselves now. All right? Because this is madness, man. This is total madness. And I mean, I've seen stories like this before, many of times, man. But I just couldn't help but speak on this. This is going into something else. This ain't even talking about what's going on over here. So, but yeah, that's all I gotta really say. Esau is pretty much going down. This is their end. And the curses that we've dealt with, that we had to deal with, they're now dealing with them now. So that's all I gotta say. So with this, I say shalom.